Hello, my name is Max, and I'm a software engineer on the tvOS team. Today, I'm excited to share with you a great all-new look of the Media Playback UI on Apple TV, and what can you do to get the most out of this new functionality available to you as a developer. In this session, we'll overview the enhancements to the standard Playback UI in tvOS 15. We'll introduce new APIs, and finally, we'll discuss best practices that will help you create a great playback experience in your application. Let's get started. AVPlayerViewController provides the standard media playback for users on Apple TV. It supports a wide variety of remotes, including the new clickable remote, as well as skipping, scanning, scrubbing functionality, Siri command, interstitial support, and more. We encourage you to start using AVPlayerViewController in your application to allow users to have a similar experience as with first-party applications on Apple TV. If you haven't yet used AVPlayerViewController or would benefit from a refresher, I recommend you to watch Delivering Intuitive Media Playback with AVKit from WWDC21, which goes into great detail how to incorporate AVPlayerViewController into your application. Now, let's review the enhancements we're bringing this year. In tvOS 15, we entirely redesigned the standard Playback UI to help viewers stay in the moment through a more consistent, interactive experience. By adding relevant controls and options to the transport bar, we improved the discoverability of the common playback tasks, such as turning on subtitles or changing audio language. The transport bar controls are both universal in nature as well can be application-specific. And with new content tabs, users can now easily access supporting information like info or chapters, making line navigation accessible and discoverable. Content tabs can also be used to show related content. Here in this example, I'm viewing a session from last year's WWDC and can browse content recommendations for the session without leaving the player. Lastly, we added contextual actions available to users during playback. Those actions are perfect functionality like skip intro or recap. To take advantage of the new Playback UI on Apple TV, your application must be linked with tvOS 15 SDK. We took this approach to maintain compatibility with any existing applications available to users in the App Store. Those applications will get default tvOS 14 Playback UI and functionality. By now, you're probably excited to learn how to adopt some of this new functionality in your media application. So let's dive into new APIs in tvOS 15. Starting with Tile View, the new Tile View displayed just above the transport bar will help users to instantly know what they're watching. To present the Tile View, we'll use values for Common Identifier Tile and iTunes Metadata Track subtile from the metadata of the current AV Player item. If a media asset does not contain embedded metadata, or you would need to augment it, use the external metadata property of AV Player item. When playing live streaming content, the Tile View will also display a badge to indicate the content state to the viewer. Lastly, if your application would prefer not to display Tile View, suppress it by setting the value of the new property Transfer Bar includes Tile View to false. Next, let's take a look at the Transfer Bar controls. Transfer Bar controls is a collection of UI elements sitting right on top of the Transfer Bar scrubber. Those controls will help users quickly and intuitively find all playback options your application may provide. Some standard controls, such as subtitles, audio languages, and picture-in-picture, are provided by the system. As a developer, you could extend the list of Transfer Bar controls using the new property of AVPlayerViewController, Transfer Bar Custom Menu Items. It supports instances of UI Action and UI Menu classes. Let's take a look at the example of using Transfer Bar controls. Here, I'm using UI Action to let user add current media item to their favorites. You could also create more advanced arrangements of actions and present them in the menu using UI Menu class. UI menus presented by AVPlayerViewController support up to one level of nesting using Display Inline option. For greater detail on using UI menu and UI action classes, I recommend you to watch Modernizing Your UI for iOS 13 from WWDC 2019. Now, let's talk about content tabs. Content tabs will allow your application to display complementary information or recommendations for more content. AVPlayerViewController will display the Info tab when the media asset contains embedded metadata, or when you supplement external metadata with AVPlayer item. Also, when you supply navigation marker groups with AVPlayer item, AVPlayerViewController will show the Chapters tab. Your application can present additional content tabs using the new property of AVPlayerViewController, Custom Info View Controllers. And in tvOS 15, we are deprecating Custom Info View Controller property in favor of the new property that allow for multiple view controllers. To size your content tabs appropriately, please specify the height using preferred content size property, or define appropriate auto layout constraints. When calculating the required height to display content tabs, the system will size all view controllers to the height of the tallest content tab. When working with multiple content tabs, size your custom view controllers consistently, or verify that the layout is expected at runtime. And don't forget to set the title property on your custom view controller. We'll use it for the title of the content tab. To help you create great-looking content tabs, this year we're introducing new content configurations in tvOS framework, TV Media Item Content Configuration, and TV Monogram Content Configuration. Let's take a look at a couple examples of how this configuration can be used in your code. For instance, to present a list of media items at 16:9 aspect ratio, you can use the white cell from TV Media Item Content Configuration. Set its properties like image, title, or secondary text. You could also configure it to show a badge and playback progress. When you're done, assign the content configuration to your collection view cell. It's that easy. If you would like to display people or characters associated with the current media content, use TV Monogram Content Configuration. For more information on using content configurations, I recommend you to watch Modern Cell Configuration from WWDC 2020. Finally, contextual actions. Contextual actions allow your application to display relevant controls during their playback. To display contextual actions, use new contextual actions property of AVPlayerViewController and provide one or more UI actions. Typically, your application would want to present contextual actions during a relevant section of the content. To achieve this, observe the AVPlayer timing by adding periodic or boundary time observers. To hide contextual actions, reset the property to an empty array. Some of you may have already implemented solutions for skip functionality within your applications. With this new API, the user interaction with contextual controls is consistent with focus behavior. And when used, it will also maintain the now playing status for your application. Now, let's talk about some best practices with AVPlayerViewController on tvOS. First, and the most important, avoid adding extra gestures to the player. This will interfere with standard playback UI and most certainly might not work in the future. Second, supplement missing metadata. Sometimes we have media that doesn't have all the metadata baked in with the asset. In those cases, provide all essential metadata like title, artwork, or description using the external metadata property of AVPlayer item. And when you do so, we'll do the rest to populate title view and info tab with all relevant information. Lastly, consider enabling picture-in-picture in your tvOS application. It will give your users multitasking flexibility, allowing for simultaneous video playback and the ability to swap between full-screen content and picture-in-picture. To get started with picture-in-picture, I recommend you to watch Master Picture-in-Picture on tvOS from WWDC 2020. So to recap, tvOS 15 makes it easier than ever to build great media experiences using standard playback UI. The powerful new API make AVPlayerViewController more configurable and customizable than ever. There's never been a better time to adopt it into your applications. And it's easy to get started. For more information, see additional resources for this session in the developer app. Thanks for watching and enjoy the conference.